Yeah, look, obviously, one of the key assets that we have is our Higginsville lithium project south of Kalgoorlie, and that is really located at the centre of what's called the lithium corridor in Western Australia. So it's very close to existing mines. There's 1,500 square kilometres in that Higginsville project alone, so it's a very large area. And there are a number of lithium pegmatites that have been identified there. And there's a lot of work that we can do cheaply, but highly valuable work. When we've had our field teams up there, we've also been looking at other opportunities. And one of the biggest opportunities that we have discovered over the last couple of months is some gold systems. Took some rock chips, and they've come back up to 4 grams a tonne. Now, that was a very, very interesting discovery.
Lithium was one of the newest and hottest commodities in the past few years. It didn't really have a use until like 5 or 6 years ago, when the boom of electric vehicles really came up. And since then we've seen 2 very good lithium cycles, and right now lithium is, let's say, at the bottom again. And today with me is one of the exciting stories in Australia, Carly Metals, and the CEO, Paul Adams. And we would like to talk about the very good exploration potential of the projects in Australia, in one of the best lithium districts in the world, because the company is now preparing for the potential 3rd lithium boom. Also, we got a little bit of gold exposure, and we will talk about this today. Paul, first of all, thank you very much for your time. It's great having you back again on our show.
Yeah, great to be here again, Jan.
So before we start talking about your project and your strategy going forward for next year, let's have a look at the lithium market. As I said earlier, we've seen 2 very, very good cycles. And I think 2 times in the past few years, people really came up to us and were like, do you have any lithium stock that I could invest in? Because it was so hot, even like the hairdresser was talking about lithium, right? And right now we are at, let's say, the bottom of the cycle, and we are waiting for the 3rd boom. Give us a little bit of an idea of the sentiment in the whole lithium industry. What does it look like? How are the talks you have in Australia? How's the feedback? Is everybody now more excited than the last few months, or do you think there's still a little bit more way to go?
Yeah, thanks, Jan, and a very, very topical subject. Obviously, we're in a completely different situation to where we were when we listed nearly 12 months ago. And as your readers and viewers will understand, I suppose, towards the beginning of this, towards the middle of this year, we saw a steep drop-off in the price of lithium, the spodumene concentrators, as well as lithium carbonate and hydroxide, as the market changed and as the demand side of the equation started to wane a little bit, and as the supply side of the equation had increased dramatically. And as a result, obviously, the price is falling quite a long way. So, talking about Australia in general, I think the mood and the sentiment here is still quite low. Having said that, just in the last few days, you've seen Rio Tinto make a very, 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 very big commitment to its lithium designs. I think they've committed something like $2.5 billion, taking advantage, let's say, of the lull in the sentiment for lithium, and starting to push forward into that sector, which they really haven't had a big hand in up till now. So obviously they see a big future in lithium, and obviously some of the larger companies are also seeing the same. And I think we're all sort of in some ways playing a little bit of a waiting game. You've seen Chinese production be taken out of the market. You've seen a number of the large players here in Australia start to take their production out of the market. And that's all necessary. If we didn't see that happening, I think we would be looking at weaker prices for longer. But it's very important that that supply side starts to come out of the market for the price to start to improve. Having said that, I think it's going to be a little soft for a little while longer, perhaps over the short to medium term, before the cycle changes again, and then we look at rising prices going forward, possibly in 2026 or 2027. So I think that is where the market really sits in terms of sentiment at the moment.
All right. So what we can say is the best way to buy into markets like this, especially volatile commodity markets, is when it's out of favor, right? You want to look at a commodity or at commodity stocks in this case when it's totally out of favor, but that's the best time to do the due diligence, to make decisions, and to look for the best companies to invest in. And I think you have some quite, let's say, highly named people in your share registry, meaning people that really know what's going on in the market. They bought into your company. Maybe we can talk about this a little bit as well, because they wouldn't invest into a company like yours, you're still early stage exploration, if they wouldn't see a potential. So give us a little bit of a rundown, maybe a short rundown. What makes Kali Metals so excited, and why do you have all these guys on your share registry?
Yeah, look, obviously one of the key assets that we have is our Higginsville lithium project south of Kalgoorlie, and that is really located at the centre of what's called the lithium corridor in Western Australia. So it's very close to existing mines and some deposits that, in particular, Mineral Resources, who have ended up being our third largest shareholder and bought a lot of the 14% that they have on market in the first week of our listing. They obviously have a long-term view, and as many of the lithium miners do here in Australia. So their view was they wanted to position themselves within that lithium corridor for the long term, and I'm talking about decades, not years. And the lithium rights that we have to our ground, our Higginsville project within that lithium corridor, is right at the centre of that particular location. So for that reason, they were very interested, and they've maintained their holding. Right. So like all the large lithium companies in Australia, and I'm sure in Canada and elsewhere, the activity has dropped off a bit as the prices have fallen. But that doesn't mean that overall that strategy from Mineral Resources has changed. And of course, I can't speak for them, but at least what we're seeing is, and what we're assuming is that they have a long-term plan and they want to maintain the positions that they've been able to establish in that part of the world through this downturn. So that's where we're at with them. And of course, Kalamazoo still have about 20%. And of course, now Westgold are our biggest shareholder. Westgold Resources have 22% of our register. They obviously made a takeover bid, a successful takeover bid for Karora, a TSX listed company. And now, in fact, Westgold are our largest shareholder and are very supportive. So,
very good.
So our top 3 or 4 shareholders hold about 60% of our register.
That's very good, and it's very good that you're in close talk to all these kind of people, and it's very good that your largest shareholders are more long-term oriented shareholders, right? So that means hopefully they don't sell off from one day to another. Instead, they would like to stick for a longer time, which also helps the company in going forward. You talked about the long-term strategy of Mineral Resources, which is probably consolidating the whole area for a really long-term approach as a lithium producer. producer in this area. Let's talk about your long-term strategy, because last time we talked, you said you want to explore for the best places to drill in 2025, meaning don't spend shareholders' money too early. Instead of you go, plan, map, and decide where to drill on the best targets. Give us an update. Do you think you can start drilling soon?
Well, we have our technical team out there quite often in the field at the moment, and they're checking some of these targets. So one of the key things that we're doing over the next, let's say, 3 to 4 months is to finalize that list of high priority targets, right? And there's 1,500 square kilometers in that Higginsville project alone. So it's a very large area. And there are a number of lithium pegmatites that have been identified there. And there's a lot of work that we can do cheaply, but highly valuable work in going out in the field, doing the mapping, doing the sampling, firming up our targets for drilling, hopefully for next year. And, we will continue to do that over the Christmas period and then into sort of January, February. And by the end of the first quarter next year, we hope to be in a position to have a very reasonable list of high quality, robust drilling targets at that Higginsville project that we can then look to drill at an appropriate time. So for us, that is sort of a major part of our strategy going forward in the lithium space. Another area, of course, is our Pilbara tenements. So we announced in October a renegotiated joint venture with our joint venture partner, SQM Australia. SQM, as you know, produce 20 to 25% of the world's lithium, a very, very large company, and they've been very successful in Australia in getting a foothold into some very large deposits here. And they've been our joint venture partner for some years already. We've managed to expand that joint venture with SQM Australia to include our Pear Creek project. So that has increased the size of that particular joint venture quite significantly. In addition, we have some applications of tenements. They're also coming into the joint venture to increase the size and prospectivity of that area. So we're very excited about what we can do with SQM next year. As part of that joint venture, of course, they did hand back to us a smaller piece of tenure called our Marble Bar project, and they've handed back that to us 100%, which actually we're quite happy with because, as we'll discuss later on in the interview, we have some fairly big plans for that particular piece of ground.
Yes, very good. Thank you very much for summarizing this. Maybe let's talk about your plans on this Marble Bar project right now, because you just released a new announcement that you may be also into gold at this project. So give us a little bit of an idea. What is the potential that we're talking about? I mean, it's still early days, right? But it gives us also a little bit of exposure to gold, which is flying in comparison to lithium right now. So that's a very good, I think.
Yeah, look, absolutely. And we are very well aware that, we need to keep creating shareholder value. And it is very hard in a commodity downturn to do that. And, we continue with our exploration efforts in lithium. But it's also very important that we generate opportunities for shareholders. And as a result of that, we were very happy to receive the Marble Bar project 100% back in Cali. We have identified lithium pegmatites at Marble Bar, which we're following up on. And we've recently done some rock chipping and channel sampling of some pegmatites in the area, and we're still waiting for those results. But when we've had our field teams up there, we've also been looking at other opportunities. And one of the biggest opportunities that we have discovered over the last couple of months is some gold systems in the southwest portion of our Marble Bar tenements. And the guys have gone out, they've done the mapping, they've done some sampling, they've looked at some areas that they thought might be prospective for gold, took some rock chips, and they've come back up to 4 grams a ton. Now, that was a very, very interesting discovery. We had not been there before. And then we went back to look at some of the previous historical soil sampling that had been done way back in 2021 when Kalamazoo was in that joint venture with SQM. And of course, they were looking for lithium. And the gold results were not the focus of that geochemistry program, but we did some multi-element geochemistry and we had some gold results. Then when we've plotted the geochemistry over our mapping, we've actually found that there is a very, very cohesive, very strong gold anomaly that sits right over those veins and that area that we've mapped that we thought was prospective for gold. And in fact, now we've been able to see that gold anomaly is actually 5 kilometers long, over 5 kilometers. It covers the areas that we've mapped and sampled with gold grades up to 4 grams, as I mentioned. And it extends way down to the southeast in areas that we have not yet been to. So even in the areas where we have mapped and discovered gold, we have not finished the mapping. We expect that we can expand the area of prospectivity of our Tiger and Sherman prospects, and indeed find additional gold mineralization on surface as we trace this geochemistry anomaly further to the southeast. And importantly, what we've also been able to discover is 600 soil samples that were never assayed at all. So we've now discovered those samples, we've put them into the laboratory, and we're very much hoping that when we got the gold results back from those, we'll be able to extend that 5 kilometer anomaly even further. So this is looking very, very interesting. And as you've said, it's early days, but what we're seeing, what we've already seen, is the physical evidence of what that geochemistry is telling us. We already know that those areas are prospective for gold. They have not been worked previously. As far as I know, they have never been drilled. So this provides us with quite an exciting opportunity in the gold space at a time when the gold price and sentiment in gold is very strong. The mental geology, the mapping and sampling will be in a position to start to drill those targets next year. And I think that's a very exciting opportunity for the company.
Very good. Thank you very much, Paul, for giving us an idea of the gold potential. As we said, it's early days, but it at least gives us a little bit of an exposure, which is really good. So at the end, to summarize up the story, basically, let's also have a look at your Victorian/New South Wales assets, right? I think it's the Jinglek project over there. What is the potential there? I don't think that's the highest priority that you got at the moment, right? Give me a little bit of an idea and an update what's to come and what to expect from these projects.
Yeah, okay. We've actually done quite a lot of work there in the last quarter, and we've been following up on some soils, some geochemistry, and they've highlighted to us, kilometre scale anomalies in tin and associated metals. So we have actually gone there. Mladen, our exploration manager, has spent quite a bit of time over there with our Eastern States team, and in fact is going back there this weekend to spend some more time. The tin assays that we've had back from rock chips are very, very interesting. Quite a few of them are over 1%. Some of them are much higher. And as you may know, the price of tin at the moment is almost 3 times the price of copper. It is becoming an increasingly important metal. And much of the tin currently being mined worldwide comes from either China, Indonesia, or Myanmar. And, in terms of security of supply, diversity of supply, there aren't too many companies in Australia or elsewhere outside of the main producers that are actually producing tin. So the grades are very interesting. There certainly would be of economic significance should we find enough volume. And we are working up those areas that we have found that contain tin, looking again at the potential to initiate some kind of drilling program maybe in the new year. So we haven't forgotten about our Jinjilik or Talangata projects. In fact, we're doing some more aerial surveys there over the coming months. We've also done a very, very large desktop study looking to identify all the opportunities within that tenure in Victoria and New South Wales, and we're currently going through that report. So we have not forgotten about our Eastern States projects. And in fact, again, we're looking for value creation opportunities for shareholders over there, in addition to our lithium exploration.
Very good. Thank you very much for bringing us more details from the story. And I think it's very good in the end to summarize a little bit, right? We've got an experienced management team. We got 3, let's say, district scale areas, right? We have very good first drill results for example, Higginsville district. You got gold potential on your Pilbara region. You got a joint venture with one of the largest lithium producers in the world. You also have Mineral Resources as a big company, billion-dollar company on your share registry. You got Westgold with you. So all of this sounds very, very good, very promising. And I think we all can wait and expect for a, let's say, turn in the lithium industry and for some better years for your company as well. So maybe for the end, Paul, give us a little bit of an idea what to expect next year. What could be a potential catalyst for your company?
Yeah, so obviously we're working up our list of targets on our lithium, both in Pilbara and at Higginsville, and to a smaller degree at our Talangata and Jinjilik projects in the east. So that work will continue, and I'm very much hoping that by sort of end of first quarter next year, we'll be in a position to produce a list of extremely robust drilling targets, for those areas, particularly at Higginsville. I think our work in the Pilbara, it's a much earlier stage, and we're looking to partner with some research firms and do some really cutting edge geochemistry work up there in the weathered portions at Dolls Hill. If we can do that, that'll be a very interesting outcome, purely from a scientific point of view. We'll continue to work up our targets, particularly for tin in the Jinjilik and Talangata regions. But I think perhaps of more interest in the short term will be these gold targets at Marble Bar. I think there's tremendous opportunity there. Obviously, the gold system that we found is of some size. It's very early, but the geochemistry, the 5 kilometer long anomaly is telling us that, this could be significant. And our job over the next few months is to really try and understand the reasons for that anomaly, to do more mapping and sampling, and then to look at ways that we can, techniques that we can use to sort of fine tune our drill targeting for the marble bar. And obviously, we're very much hoping that we'll be able to drill those gold targets within the first 6 months of next year.
Very good. Thank you very much for your outlook, and also thank you very much for your overall, let's say, explanation on the lithium industry. It was very interesting, very good interview. Thank you very much. We are now close to Christmas, so I think for everybody it's a good time to sit down, relax, and also have a view on interesting companies. So Paul, thank you very much, and we are looking forward to our next call in 2025 and to see some progress there.
Yep. Oh, well, can't wait to tell you about that, Jan, when the time comes.
Excellent. Thank you very much for your time, and see you next time. Bye-bye.
Okay. Thank you. Bye.